Can you see in the full screen?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for joining today's online workshop. And I'm glad to be here today to deliver today's lecture. The topic is resume writing and interview skills. So this is a great opportunity for us to learn from each other. And I look forward to see your active participation in the later session. So I may have some questions during the session. So you can leave your answer in the chat. And also, if you have any questions, just feel free to leave in the chat and we will discuss later. So firstly, I would like to briefly introduce, I will just share a little bit about my background. So currently I'm working at Anhor Medicines, and I am also helping the hiring manager to recruit the talents. So about our company, we are an AI-based new drug discovery company. And so we discover and develop a new class of small molecule called protein degrader, which is a effective drug molecule to induce the protein degradation. So about my background, previously I worked in a multinational company in Amgen and also Schneider Electric. And also I had a little bit of the business development background in the past of my work. So my expertise is around the recruitment, the talent management, and also business development. All right. So before we start with today's session, so firstly we need to have very clear goal settings after completing today's session. So in the first part, we will introduce about the resume writing. Here, I hope that after this session, you'll be able to build your own resume. You will have a professional writing and formatting techniques. And also, you will get to understand how to incorporate the qualifications, the job qualifications into your resume writing. Also, with my background, I can share with you about some of share about the purpose why we need a resume and how we evaluate a applicant from the hiring perspective. And in the later session, I can also give you some of the common mistakes that the applicants might take, and we can avoid for our personal journey. And in the second part, that we will go into the interview skills. So there are several different types of the interview formats, and then we need to learn a important techniques, which is behavioral interview. So it will based on the real situations to respond to the interviewers' questions. And there are some common interview questions and also how we can address the difficult questions during interview. And again, I can also share a little bit of my experience during the past interview sessions and also some of the common mistakes that we can avoid for an interview. So at the beginning, the resume is just like a professional profile summary. So it covers your personal professional backgrounds, including your education, your work experience, and your contributions in the past, and some of the awards and certificates. So because that is a profile summary, so we will usually limit the page into 1 to 2 pages only, where it gives a clear highlights about your strengths, your experiences, and give short story to the hiring manager about your relevant professional experiences. So you may like to ask, what if my research and publications are also relevant to the job, but it but but then you mentioned that the page should be limited within 1 to 2 pages. So here I would suggest that you should consider you should analyze what are the most relevant experiences in your past work or research. Then you can put the highlight in the first 2 pages. But however, you can still provide some of the supplements in the third or fourth pages, and then you can include your research and your publications in the later pages. So the resume is very important to let people understand what are the main strengths of yourself and how it is relevant to the job. So when we start to write the resume, we should understand what is the most important elements that we should include in the resume writing. So here I put 5 different elements that you can consider. So from your past experience, which element do you think is the most important one in the resume writing? And which one is not that important in resume writing? You may leave your answers in the chat box, and let's see how you think about it. Is there anyone that would like to? Okay, so personal work experience. Let's start from the most important element. So there's classmates mentioned that personal work experience is the most important element. Is there any answers that is different from this one? Okay, another classmate mentioned that personal achievement is the most important element. It depend, it depend on the post we are applying for. It depends on the position that we are applying for. Yeah, it does depend on the position that we are applying for. But in general, what would be the most important element? Personal work experience. So it seems that personal work experience is the most people will put this as at the highest weighting. Then let's move on to the next question. So which element do you think is not that important in resume writing? Is there any element that you think is not that important? Okay, none of them. So everything is everything is important. Is equally important or are important. Is there anyone that the answer is different from other classmates? All right, so probably everyone thinks that everything is equally important. So let's see what's the answer. So the answer is actually from the hiring perspective. We will think that the job qualification will be the most important element for resume writing. So why the job qualification is the most important? Because from the hiring perspective, we want to see which applicant is most qualified for the job. So so it will mainly rely on the job description itself. meaning that whatever the work experiences or education that you have, we will still would like to know the relevance of your past experience. So because the resume provides the first impression to the hiring manager, and usually we don't have much time to go into detail. So we will base on the qualification itself to see which applicant that we want to include for the interview. So that is one consideration from the hiring perspective. And then the other one is about the formatting. So so when we read the resume, then we will get to see whether this person is very decent and detailed. I believe most of the managers in the company want a new joiner to be very decent and detailed because that relates to the work quality. So a basic profile writing and with professional language and proofreading are provides the good impression to the employer. So I will say, although the education, work experiences, and personal achievements are important, but in the end of the day, the qualification is the most important criteria from the hiring perspective. So if the qualification is the most important, then how can we collect those information? Usually, from the hiring perspective, even the HR, we will understand the qualification from the job description. Same thing from the applicant, you can also understand the requirements from the job description as well. So then how can we um, frame all those elements and then incorporate those elements into the resume writing? So from the job description is the backbone where we can see what is the minimum requirements or for this job or the preferred requirements for this job. Then from there we can get to see from our personal work experiences and education how it relates to the job itself. So I will use one example to illustrate this process. So here is one example for a open position. So this is research position. The position is a cell biology assistant investigator. So if you see from this job description, the role is to design, execute, and analyze the in vitro assays to support the drug discovery efforts. And so the person needs to have the research background. They know how to build the cell assays, how to implement and analyze all those data. And most advanced applicants needs to troubleshoot the assay activities. So the qualification includes the education background from the molecular or cell biology, and then the person needs to have the cell culture experience and also have solid background in performing the molecular biology assays. And the person needs to be very detail oriented and able to communicate and present data to the team. So how can we extract the qualification from this description? As you can see, this is how I extract the keywords. And so there are some keywords include the cell biology, the drug discovery, and in oncology and neuroscience. And the person needs to work in the teams and some of the technical skills and also the education backgrounds. So with the elements that in the minimum qualification and preferred qualification, then we will base on those backbones to review the applicant's resumes. So in the review process, usually we don't have much time to review each resume. So unfortunately, usually the time spent for each resume is less than 1 minute. So in that 1 minute, we will review the level of qualification for each applicant. So we will base on the person's industry experience, the work history, the skills, certification, and research topic to understand whether this person is qualified. So if we stand from the hiring perspective, then you will get to understand the review process is actually very challenging because the time is limited. So that is why it is important to to easily help the recruiter to understand your professional background. So this is a applicant's resume. So when you read this resume, how do you feel about the person's professionalism? And do you see whether this person meet the minimum qualification and whether this person meet the preferred qualification? So here we only have about 1 minute. If you were the hiring manager or the recruiter, what are the keywords that you have identified in this resume? So please leave your answers in the chat box. Let's see whether this person meet the qualification. Okay, technical skills. So there's a section called technical skills. And there are several techniques that the person has performed in the past. That's a good point. What else? Profile, technical skill, work experience. Too long and detailed. Thanks for the comment. So probably someone think that it is too detailed. And what else? Molecular and cellular biology, cell culture, cell-based product developing experience. Okay, someone think that this profile is good and clear. Is there any other comment? So when we look at this person's profile, probably some of the elements are duplicate in different sections. However, it provides a good relevance to the job description. So like some of the classmates already mentioned, the molecular biology experience in their profile section. And also they have cell culture experience, the in vitro biology. The person has utilized some of the tools in vitro assays, and also very much relevant to the technical requirements for this job. So, so the idea for the resume writing is that um, it provides the level of relevance to the job. That is the main purpose for the resume. And the other angle that we will be looking at is that the contribution in your past experience. So usually in the resume writing, we will try our best to use the action verbs and then include the keywords into the writing. So this is another example to illustrate. So in this is another applicant's resume. So you can see at the top they have an executive summary, which is the similar format as the previous one. And then there's a list of the skills that the person already obtained and also the work history. So when we mention the action verbs and keywords, it is actually um, a um, a professional writing skill to provide your work history. So for example, in this applicant, it mentioned the person is specialized in primary cell culture for neural cells. And then the person assisted fellows with the completion of required reports and paperwork. So in terms of the writing, we will try to use the action verbs at the beginning of a sentence. It will shorten the length of a description, and also you can try to incorporate the keywords into a sentence as well. So from there, we can understand what is the overall roles and responsibilities in that period, and what is the main contribution in that period as well. Similarly, in your education section, you can not only provide your degree, but also you can illustrate what was the research topic and what was the major contribution in that research, and what were the main techniques that you have experienced in that period. So I think this is a good example. I will not say that this is the best example, but it's a relatively good example for you to follow. And then there are also some recognitions, probably from some associations or from your research institutes. And then in the end, you can also provide a list of the publications that you've involved. So with this example, you can clearly see a person's background. If you have limited time, then we can easily understand the overall experience that you have obtained in the executive summary. If I am interested in your background, then I will look into the skills and the work history in the later sections. And usually, up until the work history, it is at the bottom of the first page. And then in the second page, probably there will be more details in your educations. And then in the later pages, then it will be more like the supplements for me to go into detail. So we have talked about um, um, you get to understand from hiring perspective what is the um, major considerations and what is the review process for a recruiter and hiring manager. So you will understand when you start to write a professional resume, what will be the most important elements that you should consider. Then next, I will share a little bit about the real life experience. So for yourself, there will be some suggestions or recommendations for you to follow. So first of all, some of the applicants, especially for Taiwanese, they will rely on the 104 website to look for the job opportunities in Taiwan. So in the back end, for every individuals, you can um, fill in the blank to in the 104 platform to get a standard CV format. However, I would not recommend you to use such format because as we already discussed, the 104 format probably would not provide the most relevant information in your resume writing. So instead, I will recommend you to have your customized format. And then second, because the resume is a professional profile, so um, I would recommend you not to put your personal information in the resume. For example, your photo or your birth date and your nationality. Because with that information in the resume, it probably provide a bias to the hiring manager. So be sure that it only includes your professional information in the resume, and definitely also your contact information. And then the other consideration is that you can probably customize a little bit of your resume profile for different jobs. So um, don't rely on one standard resume to because in different job in different companies they will have different requirements. Although the job description might look similar, but actually there will be a slight difference in the qualifications. And then in the end, definitely you need to proofread your resume before send out to the company. So be sure that there is no typo in your writing. So there are some good habits that you should obtain for resume writing. So firstly, you should own a customized CV format that we already mentioned. So with the customized format, then you can also customize your content based on the job qualifications. And also you can highlight your different expertise based on the job requirements. So I have some examples. If you are applying for a research job, you can highlight more on your research background, your thesis topic, and even some of the publications, certificates, and you can include your advisor uh, as your to be your recommendation. And if you are applying for the office operation job, then you can include your learning courses and certifications and also language proficiency. So depending on different job qualification requirements, then you can highlight different things. Also, if you apply for the job overseas, then if you already have the work permit, you can also mention the requirements in your cover letter or in your resume. And then in the end, the most important thing is that to proofread your writing. That is very, very important. Then as for the a ideal resume format, I list out different elements that you should definitely include in your first and second page. So um, at the top, then definitely you need to include your name, and you can mention which job that you are looking for, you're applying for, and your contact information. Then from our previous example, as you can see, there is a short section of the executive summary that describes your main expertise and your experience. And then it can, and then you should mention your education background and work experiences. And then we also mentioned that you should use the active verbs to describe your work experiences. So in this section, it will you should mainly highlight two parts. The first part is the roles and responsibilities in that period of the work, and then your major achievements. And then in the later section, it will be more like a supplement for your application, uh, which is about the technical skills and certifications, publications, and awards. If you have the page limit, then you can put the last three elements in the later section. So this is about the resume writing. And then probably you've heard another documents called cover letter. So cover letter is not a mandatory document or writing in the application. Um, what the situation that you will use the cover letter is typically when you apply on the company portal, probably not not in the 104 website. You are applying the job at the company portal. Then usually through this channel, the hiring manager or the recruiter will receive a email application. So from the email application, it will have short descriptions. Then that is the purpose of the cover letter. So this is a good example for you to follow. So in the cover letter, usually we will mention about which position that you are applying for and why you are relevant to this position. What was your past work experiences? So um, as you can see in the cover letter writing, um, you will get to incorporate um, more the job description, some of the keywords in your writing as well. So similarly to the resume writing. So the purpose is to let the hiring manager understand the qualification that you have to the job. So in our first part, we have learned about the resume writing and how to incorporate the job description into your writing and what is the professional language in your writing. So, um, so I will leave the work uh, to you after this session. So if you start to build your resume, the first thing you need to do is to analyze the job description and then list out the keywords that's in the description itself. Then with those information as the backbone, then you can draft your resume and then try to incorporate those keywords in your writing. And then before you send out the professional resume, you need to finalize all the formats and proofread uh, before you send out all those documents. So I will say that this is a typical process for you to prepare for a resume. So this is the first part of today's workshop. So I would like to see if there's any more questions that we haven't covered in the first section. So please leave your questions in the chat box.
So we will have 10-minute break, and then please leave your question at the chat. So we will collect them, and we will have another like quick Q&A section after the break time. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, welcome back to our QA section, and thank you for all the students share your question. So we have been collect the question, and now we're gonna ask the lecturer. Okay, so the first question is any major difference between the resume and CV?
Okay, so should I answer here, Cindy?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So for the industry job, actually, resume or CV has no difference. It's a similar thing. I think it's just the terminology difference. But for when you apply for the industry job, the resume or CV means 1 to 2 pages of your professional summary. So, like we have discussed in some examples, um, in your professional summaries, we will see your work experience, your research experience, your education background, and some of your probably you will have publications and certificates. So it's just the terminology difference, but the uh, the major consideration for you to apply for the industry job is to have us highlight summaries for your application.
Okay, thank you. Because I was late, so I'm not really uh hear any the questions, the answers. But I think everybody hear the answer, right? So, okay. Okay. So the second question is for the freshmen, because we already know like during the lecture the keyword will represent like a job qualification in the resume. So but like for like freshmen, because we don't have any work experience, is there any other thing that we could like focus more on the resume?
Yeah, thanks for this question. So for a freshman, um, it's still important for um, for the employer to understand your education background. So usually, if you have done some research in school, you can elaborate more about your research topic. What was the purpose in that research, and what was the major output in that research as well. And some people may also have the opportunity to have oral presentation overseas or in Taiwan. You can also highlight that part in your resume as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so our question is because like the rumor says the resume is better like stay in one page, but also some people say like you have like you have like more pages of your resume, so you can like show your power, show your ability. So is there any like a page limit or like word limit for the resume?
Yeah, so for the industry job, uh, we only have limited time, so 1 to 2 pages is enough for initial screening. However, if you are applying for the academic job, the research position, then probably that's another story. You should have complete. You should provide your complete uh, background to the researcher. So that's another story. But today we are talking about the industry positions. So 1 to 2 pages is enough.
Okay. So our fourth question is because as you have been mentioned in the lecture, there's a different platform for the employee appliement. So is it better like to submit our resume through those employment platform, or it's better go through the company portal, or like directly send our resume to the company? Is it any like a better way to apply for a job?
So in Taiwan, typically, people will apply job on the 104 platform. Um, and there are also some other channels, for example, the company portals or the exhibitions where you can also submit your application. So my recommendation will be that you can submit your application from various uh, platforms or portals, because uh, you may not know whether the which is the major channel that the recruiter will collect the information. So whenever there is an opportunity, then you can apply through that channel. So from my past experience, I will see the same applicants from different platforms, from 104, from our company website, and even on site when we have the exhibition. So I will get the same applications. Um, I think the purpose is to um, maximize the chance for you to reach the company. So so you you don't need to be afraid that that cause the noise to the company. You don't need to consider about that. You just try to maximize your opportunity.
Okay. Okay, so thank you. And for our fifth question is, some of the job require for the cover letter, but most of the time, actually, we wrote our own cover letter too. So is this any problem if we like repeatedly having same like highlight or information in the cover letter and the resume, or it's better for the a cover letter have like different point for the person who applicate the job?
So cover letter, if there is some duplication between resume and cover letter, I think that has no issue or problem. The In the cover letter, you can probably mention more about your motivation or intention to apply for this position. Um, or if you have researched a little bit about the company, then you can also mention that in the cover letter. That if there is some repeating um, contents, I think that makes sense, because in the cover letter you still want to highlight your expertise. So that's not a problem at all.
Okay, thank you. So is we still have 2 minutes. So if I have any questions you want to type, please feel free to type. And we will also have a Q&A session in the end of the workshop. And Miss Lee, if you want any extending information for this section.
So probably we can move on to the second part of today's session, and you can still
Okay.
leave your questions in the chat, and we can come back to your questions in the end of the second part of the lecture.
Okay. Thank you.
So let's move to the second part. In the next session, we will talk about the interview skills. So at the beginning, we will get to learn about different interview formats, and we will learn a very important techniques called behavioral interview. And then we can practice some of the commonly asked questions during interview, and also some difficult questions that might be asked by the employer. And also I can share a little bit of my past experience from the hiring perspective, um, what we did in the interview, and what we are looking at during the interview. And then in the end, we will talk about the common mistakes. And I hope that after this session, you will avoid those common mistakes for your future interviews. So there are several different interview formats. Probably in your past experience, the most common interview format will be the in-person interview. So you will attend the interview session at the company's office and have a face-to-face meeting with the uh, hiring manager and the recruiter. But there are also different formats. So typically, if that's a initial screening process, then you will experience the telephone interview. It's about maybe 10 minutes call to understand to give you a brief introduction of the company, and you will also give a brief introduction of yourself. And there's also a virtual video interview. So that is a similar format to the in-person interview. It just pop up at the screen and open up your video to talk to the hiring manager. But the purpose is similar to the in-person interview. And there's another interview format called group interview. So uh, there's a bunch of the applicants, and with the same group of the hiring manager, recruiter in the same room, and there will have a group exercise uh, in between the applicants. So that is a group interview. So there are different objectives uh, to conduct by the different interview format. So if you receive the telephone interview, it's a first stage of the screening process. So usually you receive the call from the recruiter. So it's a channel to quickly understand your technical skills, whether you are qualified for this position, and then quickly understand your motivation to apply for this job. And for the virtual interview, like I mentioned, it is very similar to the face-to-face interview, but you just meet the group of people virtually. And for the group interview, so when we form into a group, actually we want to understand your teamwork capability, the communication skills, and problem solving skills. I will say that it is not very common in a research company, but it is very common for a business related or marketing related position. So because in such kind of the day-to-day job, you need to communicate to different persons and stakeholders. So usually in that situation, the company will use the group interview to assess the person's capability. Then in the end, there is a very typical interview format, a face-to-face interview. So you will have a one-to-one interview to the to the hiring manager or direct manager, and you will also meet the recruiter or the colleagues that you will work in the future. So we will evaluate um, will evaluate the candidate from multiple perspectives. We will look at the person's technical skill, we will ask some questions to understand your teamwork capabilities and what's your motivation to apply for this job and your potential leadership capabilities or potential, and also your problem solving skills and so on. So when you go into different interview formats, I hope that by this categorization, you will understand which stage that you are at and what is the purpose after this interview session. So different stakeholders will have different considerations when they go into an interview. For the hiring manager, because the person will work with you day to day. So the hiring manager will think more detailed and will think from various perspectives. The person will evaluate definitely your technical skills, your problem solving capabilities, and whether you are uh, you have the flexibility to work in the team. Then from the recruiter perspective, we will learn more about your motivation, your teamwork, and also your potential leadership skill. I don't put the leadership skill in this session is because it will depend on different position. For the freshman, probably the leadership skill is not the requirement, not the mandatory requirement, but for the higher level position, then it will be the major portion to evaluate. And in some interview sessions, uh, you will also talk to the peers. So from the peer perspective, the person would like to know your technical skills and your teamwork and communication. And then there's also other stakeholders that will be involved in the interview, which is the cross-function leader. So the cross-function leader typically will work with you depending on the project involvement. So in that scenario, you will anticipate some of the communications and collaborations across teams, and also based on the project, there will be some problem solving situations as well. So that's the perspective from the cross-function leader. So when you learn about the considerations from different stakeholders, then you will understand how to prepare for the interview questions. So there are 4 major assessments during the interview: the technical skill, the teamwork, problem solving skills, and motivation. Then the way to prepare for all those um, questions you can actually comes from you have some pre-work that you can do. So if you want to prepare for some questions about the technical skill, then you can learn from the job description, the qualifications. So that's a very similar process when you do the resume writing. So you will learn all those keywords in the job description. Then you know what are the technical skills requirements in that job. Then when we talk about the teamwork and problem solving skills, then it will be more like the situational questions. So usually the hiring manager or recruiter will ask a real will ask you about what was the real situation that you have faced before, and that's a typical question, the format of the question. So I will elaborate more in the later slide. Then about the motivation, it's very simple. Why you want to apply for this position and what makes you most interested. And also about the motivation, we will also like to learn about your way of working. So um, it is more of whether your working style fit to the company culture. So that's about the motivation. So when we start from the technical skills, then firstly, you can review the requirements from the job description. And then you can prepare some of the potential questions that you might be asked during the interview. So the question could be very simple or it could be situational. So this is the same process that we've done during the resume writing. We we collect the requirements from the job descriptions. Then the question probably like what how many types of the cell line that you have cultured before, and how long have you had the cell culture experiences, and what kind of the in vitro or molecular biology assays that you have developed, and whether do you have the troubleshooting experiences for the in vitro assays and so on. So that is relatively simple questions to understand your technical capabilities. But what if you receive the question that is more situational? So the situational question will be like, tell me a time that you faced a situation in your research, or and describe a situation that you have faced before and what happened during that time. So in this kind of in this kind of question format, um, the the purpose is to understand your real life. We would like to learn from your real life examples, because we anticipate that uh, by experiences the real examples, um, uh, we can learn about how you handled that situation, and that indicate how you might respond to future challenges. So that is the purpose why the interviewer will ask a situational questions. And when you receive such kind of the questions, um, probably you think that it is relatively difficult to handle. So that is why we need to learn about the answer format to handle such kind of questions. So this is a gold standard format for you to handle the question. Firstly, you need to describe what is the real situation that you faced in that time. What was the problem? And in this process, how did you analyze that problem? And then after analyzing the problem, then what was the situation you proposed or you tried to resolve such a problem? And we would like to know the outcome. What was the actual result that in the end of this story? And if there's a chance, you probably took some time to reflect the real situation. Then if we provide the second chance for you to handle the same situation, how would you improve your how would you improve, or how would you handle in the future? So this is a standard format to give overview or a very well structured answers to the hiring manager or recruiter. So I would like to take this chance to give you an example. So let's go into a real interview. Then if I receive a question to um, ask me whether did I have a time to have a difficult opinion or plan with my thesis advisor. So if I were you, I will answer by following approach. So my situation, my challenge was happened in my second year of my PhD degree. So during that time, I had a big argument with the professor because he wanted to change my research topic, and I didn't want to change that. I felt like if I change the topic, my graduation timeline will delay. So in that situation, I knew the reason why the professor wanted me to change the topic because there were already a similar paper being published, and the professor wanted to discontinue the current work and change the direction. And then I evaluated the situation and I wanted to convince my professor to give me a few more months to see any new findings or new progress. So during that time, I proposed to my professor to give me 2 more months to continue my research. And then my professor finally agreed with my proposal. So then in the next 2 months, I spend more efforts to continue my research day and night. But finally, I realized that there won't be any more progress in my work. So unfortunately, after 2 months, in the weekly meeting, I expressed to my professor that I didn't get any more results in my research. So that was the time that I decided to follow the professor's decision to change the topic. So fortunately, I still received my PhD degree in the end, and I still graduated on time. But when I look back to the same situation, I think I should pay more attention to the potential competitors' progress. I think I should regularly search any new updates from other research labs, and then I wouldn't waste more time on something that won't have any return. So I think in the future I will probably put more efforts on the competition searching during that time. So this is how I handle this behavioral interview questions. So as you probably already aware, I expressed the problem that I faced in the second year of my research, and I analyzed the problem. I proposed the solution to my professor, and then I tried to convince my professor to give me more time to do my research. But in the end of the results, it was not positive. If I had a second chance, um, I would try to deal with that situation in a better way. So if you were the hiring manager, then you can you can you probably feel that the candidate has a um, decent way to handle the communication with the professor. And although the results was not positive, but the person has the uh, self-awareness and the reflection skill to improve the his or her work in the future. So I hope you can um, if you had the chance to go into an interview, then you can use the approach to practice the answer format, and then I hope that it could be helpful for your interview. So we've done some of the preparations. We've reviewed the job descriptions, and uh, we should practice the way to answer some situational questions. Then there are also some preparations that you should do before you go into an interview. So you should thoroughly learn about the company's information, and also your dressing, and also you should plan for the journey to the interview. And then at the end, you can prepare some of the questions that you can bring up in the end of the interview, and then some of the follow up message to the employer. So when you do the research, you can find the information online. So if the company is a startup company, probably there is not much information online. But if you apply for the position that the company already founded for 2 or 3 years, um, at least you can find some information on the website or from the 104 platform. So I think the most important thing that you should prepare is the company's business activities. So typically, in their company website, you can learn about their technology, um, what what is the expertise of this company, and what is the business model, and what is the current product that they are developing or selling. So with those information, then you can try to understand which stage is the company, which development stage is the company. And then you can also learn about the company culture from their website. So if the company has um, um, is more structured, then they will have one page to express their company culture, their way of working. So you can anticipate their working style. Then during the interview, you can also bring up some questions to clarify or to get more uh, experience feedback from the hiring manager as well. And there are some press release or news, then you can learn about the founder, the team, and their recent progress in their business. So I think a thorough research of the company is an important thing that you to do before the interview. And next is about the wearing or the dressing. So when you apply for the industry job, um, your wearing can be business casual. So for guys, you can wear the suit jacket. Not necessary um, um, to wear too professional, but at least it should be business casual. And for women's, also you can wear long sleeve shirts and the straight pants, and also pump shoes. So just have the good first impression to the hiring manager. I think that is important. And then in terms of the transportation, I will recommend you to reserve about 5 to 10 minutes before the event. So you should plan ahead. If you uh, plan to take the MRT or bus, then I still recommend you to prepare for the alternative transportation tool as well. And you can prepare for at least 3 copies of your resume, because probably the hiring manager will have very intense work, the meeting schedules, and they don't have time to print out your resume. So it's very nice for you to prepare for the hard copies. And for some companies, they probably will ask you to bring a presentation. So be sure to bring your laptop, your notebook, and pen, and also your documents in a USB drive. So um, so for example, for our company, we will ask the researcher to make about 10 minutes presentation to share about their research experience. So that's a typical format for my company. And in the end, in the past, during the COVID-19 period, then we will suggest the candidate to wear the face mask. But during this time, because there is no issue at all, but you can still prepare for it if they ask you to put on the face mask. And then before you attend the interview, you can also prepare some of the questions that you can ask in the end of the interview session. So the purpose to ask question is that this is a two-way communication platform. The interview is not a one-way um, format; it's a two-way. So you can take this opportunity to ask the hiring manager or recruiter. But I will still recommend some of the good questions you can ask during the interview. So the question is more about the responsibilities and expectations of this job. So although probably you would like to know about the salary and benefits, but I I would recommend that you can keep the conversation more on the work related questions. And then in the end, you can still ask about the salary range and benefits and so on. So there are also some common mistakes that I have experienced in the past. So the most common mistakes that the candidates might made is that they will ask about the salary and benefits as their first question. Um, so from the hiring perspective, we 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 hope our expectation to the candidate is that how much they pay attention to the job, to the job requirements. So I think to put the question nicely is that you can facilitate the conversation more on the work discussion. And after we have fully understand the work requirements, then when we ask about the salary and benefits, then it makes more sense from the hire to the hiring manager. I think that is a basic respect to the hiring. And then I will recommend you to reserve 5 to 10 minutes to prepare on site. So instead of arriving on time or late, I think you should plan ahead. And because you can have some time to probably drink some water and have your self preparation in the meeting room, I think that would be great. And probably some candidates will avoid the eye contact during the interview. I think that is the uh, the red flag during the interview, because if you avoid the eye contact, it means that probably you don't have enough confidence to yourself. So I think having the direct eye contact is important requirements between the interaction with the people. So you can practice about your eye contact at home, or you can practice your interview with someone else and focus on your eye contact. And then I've mentioned a lot of times that during the interview, you should focus on the roles and responsibilities of this job. And also you can understand the manager's expectation if you bring such kind of questions during the interview. I think that is the good practice you can follow for an interview. And definitely practice makes perfect. So we've learned about the situational interview questions. That is very important thing that you can practice beforehand. And then you can also learn about the company culture either on the public information or during the interview from all those information. Then you can understand whether the company culture fit to yourself. I think the work is not only a work; it's about the whether you can gain uh, the the happiness and the self confidence in that uh, in uh, in that culture. And then in the end, you can also send a follow-up message to the employer. So with this gesture, it is to show your interest, your high interest to the company or to the position. So I think that is great to give a follow-up message after the interview. So the next step for you, when you enter or when you receive the interview opportunity, then you can prepare yourself by reviewing the job description to understand the qualifications and prepare yourself with some technical questions. And then you can prepare yourself by some of the commonly asked situational questions. There's a standard format for you to handle such kind of questions. And you can keep on practicing by yourself or with your peers, and then ask for feedback. And in terms of the information, not only from the public websites or press release, you can also collect all those information from your friends in that network. So this is all of the recommendation next step for you. So I would like to see if you have any questions of either for the interview or for the resume writing. So you can leave your questions again in the chat box.
Thank you, Miss Ling. So if anyone have question, please leave your question at the chat box, and we will take a 10-minute break and come back at 3:45. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Miss Ling.
No problem.
Okay, thank you for the student who has typed their question on the chat. Is there anyone have any question related with today's workshop? Feel free to type in. Also like relate with the resume or anything you want to know like during your job applying uh, process. If you have any question, please feel free to type. Okay, so for our first question for this the for the interview skill, it's so it's like people are asking more relate with the like how long should we send like a thank you letter or like the asking are we being accepted. So like how long should we ask if they have like interview opportunity after we submit a resume? It's like more than 2 weeks or like how could we ask properly?
Yeah. So I would suggest that before you say goodbye to the interviewers, you can ask what is the typical. You can give you can ask a follow-up questions and understand what is the typical process um, internally and how much time will it take to have the next step. So you will know at least their review process and the time they need to take internally. And you can also learn whether um, they will respond the interview results individually, or they will only respond to the person that they want to move into the next step. So you can clarify such a kind of questions to the recruiter before uh, you say goodbye to them.
Okay, so I think you answered both questions. So like
Yeah. So
both like
um, if the case is that um, you already closed the interview on that date and you want to follow up after maybe a few more days or weeks, then I would suggest that you can send a follow-up email to ask whether they have complete the internal assessments and when would possibly get the response or next step. So you can send the follow-up message for sure.
okay. So also for the submit the resume is like 2 week after we can ask for is there any opportunity for interview or other process?
Yeah, if you already get the contact window
Oh,
after you submit the resume, then you can follow up. That is no problem. But typically, uh, you probably has no contact window yet. You may wait until the company um, contact you. So uh, you can still try to submit your application once again after uh, 2 or 3 weeks if there's no response, or you can try different channel to apply again. That's something that you can do as well.
okay. Thank you. So, since it's like no one have further question, could you like share your experience like relate with the research platform like how people having interview like they submit like maybe a really thick resume and when they going through the whole process what would it like to be or like maybe can you share like something you think is more like come up in your mind?
Yeah. Uh, I had the experience that there's an applicant who submit by mail. So typically we will submit the application online, maybe through email or through different online portals. But I got the experience to receive the application by mail. And it was a thick, very thick, and probably more than 100 pages of the application. So I think the that kind of the it is not very common experience, but I had that experience 1 to 2 times in the past. So the way I handle that kind of the situation, I probably will save the documents in maybe in the I will just keep that aside because I have it's very difficult for me to handle the application in such situation. So typically we will receive the application by short pages. That is a normal situation. And
Okay.
I see there's another question in the chat box. The Danny Wu asked, can we ask how likely I have chances to be accepted? Um, I thought it is not appropriate, but in the prepared questions you mentioned we can ask it. So Danny would like to listen more opinions. So um, probably the questions um, toward I think the purpose is to understand whether I can have the chance to be accepted. I think the alternative way to ask similar question will be uh, when would you possibly uh, when do you anticipate the candidate should get on board? Um, with this question, then you can anticipate how much time would they take internally? Would it be a rush decision, or would it be, or it would take longer time throughout the process? So um, so you can also understand the timeline. And another question I will probably ask uh, is that I will ask the hiring manager what would be the expectation you're or what you're looking for from the candidate in terms of the technical capabilities or the personal characteristics and so on. So from the response, from the hiring manager's response, then you can understand whether you are qualified or anything that the hiring manager appreciate um, your answers. Then you can also get the likelihood whether you will be accepted. I think those are the uh, the questions or approach that you can handle during that conversation.
Okay. Thank you. So, okay, I think there's no more question from the students. So, is anything you want to share with us, or we end our workshop today?
Yeah, so I, I appreciate we have the opportunity to interact and to learn from each other. So if you have any further questions or you want to just simply stay in touch, here's my contact information, and you can leave your message through the email, or you can contact me directly.
Thank you, Miss Lin. Could we have the PowerPoint you show out today so we can send to the students that if they have like more interest, they can look into the PowerPoint.
Yeah, that's no problem. I can share the presentation after this session.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Lin. Thank you for joining us for our online workshop.